Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our feature presentation of the Orena Lifechild Invitational.
Reserve time.
Right now, we've got a cracker of our match. Volvo Pls versus Please Don't Flame Us, We Are New, or shorthand, Newb.
Radiant
Both
team
teams are trying to
ban.
make it to the finals and make it to that LAN final at the Cape Town LAN for event 4 for the tournament. Right now, they've got a sizable prize pool for this tournament, 75,000 rand being split between the CSGO tournament and the Dota 2 tournament. Now, Please Don't Flame Us, We Are New had a great run yesterday. They pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, they may have gone 3-0 or 2-1, and they pretty much made it to this level, and now they'll be hoping to take it to the next level and possibly 2-0 Volvo Pls. Volvo also had a pretty decent run in the previous day, and they'll also be looking to increase their chances. And it should be noted that this is a single elimination round right now, so both teams are fighting for their lives up until they reach the final. Nonetheless, they're already underway within the bans and picks, and already it seems very interesting. Both teams seem to be assimilating into the 6.82 patch, or rather the 6.82C patch, because if you look at the bans right now, once again, Batrider, and this was not even remotely the case in the previous patch. Batrider has become a first phase ban and pick candidate. In the essence, it's pretty much down to the fact that right now his mechanics are strong regardless of the nerfs he's received over a specific period of time. And they ban out the Brewmaster coming out from Volvo Pls. Now that's pretty much a signal that they don't want to deal with the amount of teamfight control that hero possesses, and that kind of it kind of signals that they might be going for a team fight. I mean, you can see that with the Tidehunter pickup as well. He's still good enough of a pick regardless of the nerfs that he did receive to his Anchor Smash. And then you look at the bans coming out from Newb. They pick up they ban out the Death Prophet, they ban out the Terrorblade. Now the Death Prophet is pretty much something you still don't want to deal with in the current patch, regardless of how push has been nerfed in the current patch. But in this essence, you don't want to deal with it because of how strong a presence she is in the team fights. So they ban out the Terrorblade, who is in essence a Naga Siren substitute, so to speak. He has great illusions. He also has a great pushing potential, and once he gets to a certain level, it's hard to take him down. And obviously, Sunder is one of those skills you never want to deal with. So it's definitely a ban warranted on the first phase. But both teams picking interesting heroes. Tidehunter being picked up for the team fight coming out from Volvo Pls, and they pick up the line as well. Now the line is going to be interesting to see how they make that work. But all around, they've got a decent amount of control coming out from their lineup. They've got the Earth Spike, they've got the Hex coming out from the line, and they've got a lot of burst once that line gets level 6. And then you look at Ogre Magi. Ogre Magi has moved from an inconsequential melee creep in the previous patch to being the flavor of the current patch, and it's warranted, man. This patch pretty much it is the patch of the Ogre, man. And Naga Siren once again pretty strong right now as the patch warrants all these juggernauts who can scale very well into the late game. And Naga Siren is one of those heroes who, if you get out of control, she will overrun your map, she will overrun your team fights, and she has the ability to reset a team fight or initiate a team fight with that Song of the Siren. So it's definitely something you need to be wary of coming out from Volvo Pls, and I think they're going to be having to shut that hero down because she's going to be a problem. And Newb really love that hero. I mean, Chidowi plays a mean Naga Siren. He plays it off of the mid lane, pretty much reminiscent of the days of RTZ playing that Naga Siren mid. So it's definitely something to look out for. And looking at the next levels of bans, I look at Volvo Pls. They ban out the Keeper of the Light and the IO. Now that's interesting. That's an interesting combination of bands. I say it's an interesting combination of bands because for one, Ogre Magi has been picked up, and I'm pretty sure Noob's probably going to be running him as a core. So that's overkill on the supports that they banned out. But on the flip side, it seems like they're afraid of, or rather they're worried about a global presence map, a global presence draft coming out from Newb. I mean, if you have the relocate, you have the recall from the Keeper of the Light as well. I think it's certainly something to worry about, but I think it may be a mistake committing bans to both those heroes, because I don't think Newb will be going for both those supports, especially the Keeper of the Light in this instance, because of how aggressive their lineup kind of seems. And the Faceless Void and the Razor being banned out from Newb for obvious reasons, because in the mid lane, Naga Siren would suffer up against a Razor, and the Faceless Void being coupled up with a Tide Hunter could be problematic, and I think that's a warranted ban looking at what Volvo Pls has picked up. I mean, they have the Tide Hunter for great control, and imagine coupling that up with the Chronosphere, and then on top of that, a Disruptor being picked up as well. So a Static Storm is also at the ready. Now, one of the more interesting pickups is the Zeus pickup, and I think Newb have been playing Zeus a lot as support, and he's got a lot of lane presence. I mean, the amount of spammable capabilities that he has, it's kind of a nuisance in lane. And on the flip side, the one thing I do worry about is that they don't really have the strongest roaming duo, but what they do have is a lineup that can give the Naga Siren some space to farm, and you can see that with the Timbersaw. The Timbersaw, once he gets his levels up, he's going to be running all over the map trying to create havoc. And Volvo Pls picking up the Storm Spirit, which I'm assuming is going to be going in the mid lane up against the Naga Siren. I think that matchup should be interesting, and Storm Spirit's gonna have his hands full, because up until level 6 he is kind of vulnerable in that mid lane, and the Ogre Magi I would assume is going to be the roaming support in this draft coming out from Newb, and it's gonna be a worrying roaming duo. Support, because with the Naga Siren, who's probably going to be in the mid lane, that essentially means you've got the nets, you've got the Fire Blast coming out from the Ogre Magi, and probably Storm would be dead at that point. But if Storm does get his decent amount of levels, he snowballs out of control, then he pretty much acts as Volvo Pls' version of the Timbersaw, because he's going to be overrunning the map, creating havoc. But the Gyrocopter being the last pick coming out from Newb, and the Lifestealer being the last pickup coming out from Volvo Pls. So we have a Lifestealer bomb lineup coming out from Volvo Pls. They have two candidates for that Lifestealer bomb. They have the Tide Hunter, they have the Storm Spirit, and Chidowi actually going to be playing up the Gyrocopter in the mid lane. So Storm Spirit's gonna have his hands full in that mid lane. But on the flip side, Gyrocopter is he is very vulnerable in the early stages of the game. So he also needs to be very aware of how aggressive Volvo Pls could be moving along, because the Lion could be great for roaming, because I mean he has his spike, he has his Hex, so the amount of disables that they do have once they start roaming around. And I think with the Lifestealer pickup, it gives them the potential to actually fight much earlier than Newb does, because you have the Ravage at level 6, and Lifestealer is one of those carries who typically gets online very early into the mid game. So that's certainly something that could be problematic for the Newb lineup, because the Naga Siren is definitely going to need some space if she wants to get strong. And obviously on the flip side, Gyrocopter is pretty much the same kind of hero. I think for them it's going to be a matter of biding their time and trying to make sure that they get something out of the laning phase, because if they don't get something out of the laning phase, then Volvo Pls are probably going to get very aggressive. I mean, their lineup pretty much warrants it. You pick a Storm, you pick a Lifestealer, you pick a Tide Hunter. That is the key combination of what I would call an aggressive lineup. So Newb, if they want their lineup to excel, they're going to have to be very wary about the aggression coming out from Volvo Pls. And on the flip side, Volvo Pls have to always keep the aggression up, because if they keep the aggression up over onto the Newb side, then it essentially means that Newb, in particular, Chidowi and Skynet on the gyrocopter and the Naga Siren respectively, they won't have that much space to farm. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're actually going for an aggressive lineup an aggressive tri lane coming out from Newb. That should be interesting to see. I have to see the efficacy of this specific tri lane. And the question is, Volvo Pls, have they actually figured that this is what's going on? Because I think that could certainly mess up with Valken's farming potential. But on the flip side, I mean, Valken is a life stealer. He's a life stealer, so he does have decent survivability in the sense that he does have rage, and he's got supports who have also a lot of tri-lane efficiency. I mean, you've got the Earthspike, you've got the Hex, you've got potentially the Glimpse and the Kinetic Field. So I don't think they'll be too concerned, but it's going to be a lane of action if it does end up in a try versus try situation. But before any action gets underway, let me just introduce the lineups. Over on the Radiant for Newb, we have over on that solo safe lane, ROC playing up that Timber Saw. That means Chidowi will be playing up on that Gyrocopter over in the mid lane. And in the aggressive tri lane, we've got Crossing Field playing up that Ogre Magi. And we have 225 playing up that Zeus. And then we have Skynet playing up that Naga Siren.
30 seconds to battle.
And then over on the Dire, for Volvo Pls Fix, we've got over on the offlane, we've got that Tide Hunter being played up by Riz. Over on the mid lane, that means 209 will be playing up that Storm Spirit. And then any safe lane tri lane coming out from Volvo Pls Fix, we will have LGK playing up that support line, Iconic playing up that Disruptor, and the hard farming Lifestealer being played up by Valken. It's gonna be a Clash of Titans up in that try versus try situation, and it should be very interesting to see who gets the upper hand. And already Skynet getting that first rune over on that top lane, getting that illusion, and he's gonna be a bit of a nuisance moving up over on that top lane, just harassing LGK just a little bit, but it's of no consequence at this point. I think the mid lane is also going to be a very interesting battle, because I think for the most part Chidowi should be fine. Because I mean, once he has the rocket barrage, once he has his flag cannon, I think 209 is going to be very wary about going aggressively on him, even when he does have that vortex up and running. But the one thing that I do worry about for Chidowi is once that level 6 comes out and 209 actually gets mobile with that ball lightning, then it's going to be a very interesting lane. And over in the bottom lane, I think RSC is in a bit of a tough spot in the sense that, well, both RSC and Riz are in a bit of a tough spot in the sense that these aren't necessarily many heroes who have too much to worry about from each other. So it should be interesting to see who edges the other one out. I mean, on the flip side, you do have that Anchor Smash, which is going to be a nuisance over onto ROC in the sense that his farming potential could be nerfed, but it looks like he's doing fine already going into 2 minutes in. He's already leading the CS shot, sitting at 6 for 3. So he should be fine. But over on the top lane, this is going to be the lane to watch. This is definitely going to be the lane to watch, because I am expecting that we're going to see First Blood coming out from this lane. Looks like over on the bottom lane, it's pretty much going to be a battle of wits more so than anything. I don't think anyone should be really getting the upper hand, because it's gonna be a matter of willing death versus the Anchor Smash. Over on the top lane though, I think Newb committing to this aggressive tri lane, they need to make it work in the sense that they need to get the kills early, because if they don't get the kills, that means they've nerfed the farming potential over on Skynet. And if you nerf looks like Chidowi actually getting the first blood. Apologies for missing that. Chidowi gets the first blood on that Storm Spread, and this is kind of one of the things that I mentioned going early into the draft, that if it happens that they gank that Storm Spirit. He doesn't have an escape mechanism until he gets level 6, and that is a perfect time to pretty much capitalize on that pickup. And they get the first blood, and that'll be great for Chidowee, because Chidowee essentially right now he's accelerated his farm, and that is not what you want over on a gyrocopter, because he can farm up a storm. But over on the top lane, this is actually quite a passive lane, so I don't know if Skynet is willing to let it go this passively, because Valken is still getting a decent amount of farm, and Skynet is actually behind on farm in terms of what Valken is getting. So I think they're gonna have to get very aggressive very soon, because I mean they have the Fire Blast, they have the Ignite, and if I look at 225 has that Arc Lightning, so there is a decent amount of burst. But I think they're worrying about the initiation potential, or rather the counter initiation potential coming out from Volvo Pls. If I look at the CS charts right now, I'd say it's a pretty even matchup. Oh, it looks like we got a Fire Blast going out onto LGK. There goes a net. There goes your damage coming out from the Naga Siren, and that's a kill over onto that line. And now we've got a glimpse going out onto Skynet, so Skynet's not really going to get any further kills. We got a Fire Blast catching Valken, and Valken surviving by the skin of his teeth there. But Newb doing exactly what they need to do in that aggressive tri-lane, because they need to get the kills, because Skynet is not going to get the same amount of farm that Valken is currently getting. He's actually almost pretty even there. It looks like we got an Earth Spike catching Skynet, but it's more so to edge him out. Over on the bottom lane, ROC playing with fire. Riz also playing with fire. Looks like we've got the Whirling Death and the Anchor Smash going on. So both heroes on low HP right now. But it looks like Riz sitting at 220, and it looks like ROC sitting at 109. Looks like they're looking to go aggressively over on the aggressive tri-lane coming out from Newb as well. At this point, it looks like Ogre Magi, it looks like Crossing Field is looking to get in very aggressively over onto Storm Spirit, but he knows better. He knows that something is up. They know that there's a missing Ogre Magi, and when Ogre Magi is missing, you know very well that you could be the target of a gank. I think the one thing that Newb needs to be very wary about in terms of how they rotate around the map with that Ogre Magi is that they have an aggressive tri-lane. So whenever Ogre Magi isn't around in that aggressive tri-lane, it leaves them very vulnerable to an onslaught of aggression. It looks like we got a Fire Blast catching Iconic, and there goes your Arc Lightning, and that is a dead disruptor. Iconic, feeling the pain coming out from the amount of burst damage that this aggressive tri-lane has, and it's a lot of burst damage. Lightning Bolt dealing a mad amount of damage if you're just a lowly support who has no farming priority whatsoever. Okay, if I look at the CS chart right now, Newb are overrunning Volvo Pls, because you look at the top farmer is actually that solo safe lane ROC Timbersaw sitting at 34-8, so he's definitely holding his own up against that Tide Hunter. And then one thing that's happening though in the mid lane is the 29-for-3 over on that Storm Spirit. So if he can get his items up as soon as possible and be aggressive around the map, that should be great for Volvo Pls. And then third on that CS chart, sitting at 28-for-4 is the Gyrocopter. So he's not really behind in that sense, and he's gonna, looks like that Storm Spirit is gonna get himself. He's gonna get himself a rune. He's level 6, and now he's looking to get aggressive over on the bottom lane. It looks like they're looking to go in. There goes the Pole Lightning. There goes the Ravage as well. Catches ROC. So Archie being caught up by that Vortex Anchor Smash, and he's down for the count. But over on the top lane, I don't know what they can do, but that's exactly what the Storm Spirit needs to do, because when you pick up a Storm Spirit, you need to get very aggressive. Make sure he snowballs. Make sure he wreaks havoc on the rest of the team. And looks like we got a Ball Lightning. Oh man, it's unfortunate for that Lion. And the amount of burst damage coming out from this tri-lane is insane. I mean, the moment a Fire Blast catches you, you know that Lightning Bolt and the Arc Lightning is going to catch you. And once it does catch you, you're in a precarious position, because these supports are quite squishy and they pretty much serve as food. Although Valken is getting up a decent amount of farm, he isn't leveling out the Gyrocopter, and that's going to be one of the bigger problems in terms of how Valken does, because as great as he is in the mid game with that life steal, looks like we've got a Hex going on to Crossing Field, but he should be fine. He should be fine. My bigger worry with how the game is going right now is that the life stealer in essence he's great in the mid game in the sense that he can get up to fighting shape very quickly, pretty much more so than the Naga Siren. Looks like over on the bottom lane, ROC taking down Riz over on that Tidehunter. Once again, ROC being very aggressive, and I think the Tidehunter should recognize the fact when he doesn't have Ravage down. Looks like over on the top lane, we've got the Fire Blast and that Lightning Bolt catching the LGK line, and we got a glimpse going out, but it's way too little too late. Way too little too late. At this point, they need to be worried because they're sitting at 6-4-1, and Newb is pretty much running the game right now. And that aggressive trialing is getting way too much. We've got a Fire Blast catching him. He does go into rage, but the net catches him as well, and that's a kill for that Ogre Magi. And Crossing Field actually sitting on a killing spree. That is not the position you want an Ogre Magi being in very early on, considering he's in an aggressive tri lane. The one thing aggressive tri lanes usually suffer from, if they don't get the kills, they suffer from levels. But that's certainly not the issue coming out from Newb, because both the supports sitting at level 5, almost broaching the 6 mark, and that's going to be a problem once 225 gets that 6 mark, because then you know Thunder God's Wrath. It looks like over the bottom lane we've got an initiation coming out from Rix as well. Looks like he did use the Ravage and took down ROC as well. Looks like over in the mid lane they're looking to go in on Chidowi. There goes the Hex, there goes the Canadian Field, there goes the Earth Spike. We got a Fire Blast catching 229 and the Rocket Barrage dealing so much damage, and it looks like 209 takes actually a spell, and looks like they might take down that Lion as well as he eats a Lightning Bolt. So it's 2 for 1 basically going the way of Newb, and they'll be happy to have lost the Timber Saw regardless, because they got essentially what is supposed to be the tempo controller coming out from Volvo Pls fix in that Storm Spirit. So they're definitely doing enough that they can to make sure that that Storm Spirit doesn't get his key items up. I mean, whether it's the Bloodstone, whether it's that Orchid Malevolence, he won't be getting that anytime soon
middle tower is
if they keep on this aggression. But over on the top lane, my worry for Volvo Pls fix is they're leaving Skynet's Naga Siren unchecked, and it looks like with a Ball Lightning and the Song of the Siren being prompted, but Valken was in rage form, so he should have been fine, but he did get it. And a long range Ball Lightning there, and he might actually suffer for his insolence, because there goes the Thunder God's Wrath and a Lightning Bolt as well to take him down over on that Storm Spirit. Storm Spirit not having the greatest game. I mean, he's sort of breaking even. It looks like they might be going on to Riz. There goes the Ignite as well, burning him down, but he's super tanky, so they won't be looking to go in onto him. But 225, he's already past level 6 at this point, and once 225 is past level 6, the Thunder God's Wrath is a big problem because of its global presence, and it's kind of what you don't want in lineups going up against a team that has great initiation potential but doesn't have great global presence. You do not want ultimates like the Thunder God's Wrath going up against you. And as I mentioned, the amount of burst damage that the new lineup has is actually insane, in the sense that they can give both the Naga Siren and the Gyrocopter a lot of space to farm. I mean, you look at the net worth right now. Top 3 farmers are the 3 cores coming out from the new lineup, and they're sitting at 5.3, 4.2, 3.8 respectively. The Gyrocopter, the Naga Siren, and the Timber Saw. And Skynet is happy to sit in that lane and carry on farming, because no one is stopping him whatsoever, and they always have to keep that Song of the Siren in the back of the minds. Looks like over on the bottom lane they might be looking to exchange blows, the Riz Tidehunter and the ROC Timber Saw. But at this point, the Ravage is at the ready, so ROC needs to be very wary, and looks like they're looking to backstab. There goes that Thunder God's Wrath, and it takes down LGK's Lion, and once again overrunning that top lane. They need to think about staying in this top lane. Is it really worth it? At this point, the Lifestealer is not really getting that much farm as compared to the Gyrocopter or the or the Naga Siren. And once Naga Siren gets her key items up,
Dire's top
there's no
tower
stopping
is
this
under
lineup because the
attack.
amount of split push in terms of overrunning the map, and looks like he goes into rage form. There goes the kinetic field, but the kinetic field doesn't catch him, but the glimpse surely doesn't. Skynet's in a world of trouble. He pops his illusion. There goes the in-face bomb right now coming out. There goes the Ravage. The Ravage catching Skynet as well. There goes your Gush as well. Open wounds, and that's a dead Naga Siren. They had to commit a lot for that Naga Siren. So it's a kill that needed to happen, but I think it's still not enough for Volvo Pls to get back into the swing of things, because if you look at the goal graph right now, we're 12 minutes in, and it's already a 5. It's inching toward the 7.5k mark in favor of Newb.
Dire's middle
And
tower is under
that
attack.
isn't pretty. 12 minutes in, that isn't pretty for Volvo Pls, and the XP graph sitting at 5k right now in their favor as well. So essentially, when you've got a lineup that's supposed to be just sitting back and farming, and it's going up against a lineup that is very aggressive.
Dire's
Very
middle tower
aggressive. I mean,
has
you've got
fallen.
Lion, you've got Storm Spirit, you've got
Dire's
Lifestealer.
bottom tower
Essentially
is
a
under
very,
attack.
very aggressive lineup. And it looks like we've got a net catching Falcon, and Falcon may be in a world of trouble. There goes the Earth Spike to dissuade anything further from happening. There goes the Lightning Bolt catching LGK, but LGK should be fine. And it looks like they're looking to TPN over to RC. There goes the Ball Lightning. There goes the Vortex as well. Gush going out, even committing the Chakram. Can they take him down? He looks like he's actually going to survive. There goes the Glimpse as well. And he actually is causing a lot of trouble right now because he's taking down Rix. Can he take down Rix? He does end up falling, but the Thunder God's Wrath securing the kill over onto that Riz Tidehunter. So much worth coming out from RSC's Timbersaw, making sure that he's a havoc over on the map. And they did lose the tower over the mid lane. So Volvo Pls falling apart at their seams. They put a lot into that aggressive draft. They put a lot of their eggs into that aggressive draft basket, and
Dire's
it's
bottom
falling
tower is under
apart.
attack.
And once it falls apart, what do you do versus the lineup that's supposed to be sitting back and farming, but they're the ones overrunning the early game, overrunning the mid game? As it stands right now, Naga Siren could be going for anything. I mean, she'll probably be going for, if I look at this lineup, she'll probably be looking to go for
Dire's
that
bottom
Radiance
tower
and
is under
Diffusal
attack.
at some point, because
Dire's
there's no reason
structures are
not to get it,
fortified.
especially when she's so ahead. Looks like we've got a smoke rotation, and Volvo Pls in a world of
Dire's
trouble right now.
bottom
Falcon eating a Fire Blast. There goes the multicast Ignite, and he's down for the count. It looks like they're looking for more. They're hungry for more. There goes the Hex over onto Skynet. Can he do anything? There goes the Lightning Bolt. Ravage catching onto 3. 225 in a world of trouble, but the song right there to dissuade from anything further. But it looks like 225 actually didn't stay in the right realm right now. So 2 for 1 in favor of Volvo Pls, but they only got supports versus the Lifestealer who went down. So I think overall, Newb will be happy with
Dire's
that.
bottom
But I
tower
think
is
when
under attack.
there was a bit of miscommunication there, because the Song of the Siren came up, and that was the perfect opportunity for the two supports to disengage. But instead, they went forward instead of following Skynet with that song. So it's 2 deaths that didn't need to happen, and they need to be very wary about that. But over on the bottom lane, looks like we've got a Ball Lightning. Chinowi getting very aggressive. He throws out the Call Down, and Iconic in a world of trouble. There goes the Static Storm. He's going to try and take down Iconic before he falls down. There goes the Thunder God's Wrath. Thunder God's Wrath taking him down. But Chinowi does take a spell. So he takes down the Disruptor as a collateral kill, but he still pays for his troubles. He still pays with his life for his troubles. Overall, Newb playing a very ragtag game in the sense that they got ahead in the early game. They pretty much overran the laning phase, and they punished the weakness of the Volvo Pls lineup, because early on Storm Spirit is vulnerable, and looks like he's about to take a spill as he falls down to Crossing Field over on that Ogre Magi. Crossing Field putting in a lot of work, and it's actually a big problem. I should stop calling him Crossing Field because I know he's S-powered, but that's neither here nor there. It looks like they're looking to get more aggressive, as they have very aggressive wards. I have to commend the aggressive warding coming out. It looks like the Thunderbolt going out onto LGK, and LGK is in a world of trouble because the homing missile is following him, and if they do not take it down, they don't take it down, and that's a dead LGK as he takes a spill to that Ignite. That Ogre Magi, man, I certainly understand why he's the flavor of the month right now. He's the flavor of the patch, the flavor of the month, and there's a very good reason for that. And RSC is just being left to his own devices. He pretty much rushed the Bloodstone with no reprisal coming out from the Volvo Pls fix lineup, and I think that's a big problem. If a Timberstore feels safe enough to rush it, you've got a problem. You've got a big problem. And right now there's nothing they can do because their defensive capabilities aren't that great aside from the Static Storm and the Ravage. I mean, those are actually pretty decent. But you have to consider that there's a cooldown which is long range initiation. There's a Song of the Siren. There's a tanky support in the Ogre Magi who's not afraid to get in, and looks like got a Yusef the catching 209. He blinks out. There goes a brilliant Static Storm, catching Chidui and the crossing field, and there goes a Ravage as well. They did lose Chidui to that finger of the death, and it's a triple death going the way of Newb right now. Newb getting overzealous, and looks like RSC is looking to get very aggressive, and he may be in no man's land. There goes the Chakram as well, and he's about to take down 209, but he's about to take a spill as well. He denies himself, commits suicide, but it's 4 for 2 going the way of Volvo Pls fix. And I think considering that they defended their tower, they'll be happy with that exchange. I mean, it's not the most ideal of situations, but they took down the Gyrocopter, which is I think a big thing. And it's certainly a tale of how this game is going. The fact that the Gyrocopter decided to go with the Yule Scepter. I mean, that's a pretty good item considering how this game is going. It's a great way to disengage being initiated on by the Storm Spirit, being initiated on by any of the other initiators coming in. And it looks like he's about to go in. Skynet throws out the net. Excuse the pun in his actual name. But nothing further to come from that. And I think the other big problem for the Volvo Pls fix lineup is the case that they're losing out in terms of territory as well. Not a single tower has been taken. There goes the ball lightning. There goes the vortex as well. You'll Scepter coming out from Chidui, but he should take down to that Storm Spirit as a remnant takes him down. And these are the kind of mistakes that Newb should not be making, because at some point we're gonna have a Storm Spirit sitting there with the Orchid. I mean, he's already got his first Oblivion stuff, and that's a big problem. And another big thing is, I think if Volvo Pls fix use the lineup they have to its pure potential. I mean, they have great candidates for the Nike's bombs. I mean, they have the Tide Hunter, they have the Storm Spirit. I think they should be using that to greater effect. Because as it stands right now, the Gyrocopter is in somewhat fighting shape, but he's still rather squishy, as is evidenced by how quickly he's falling. It looks like they're looking to go in over the bottom lane. 209 needs to be very wary. He has the ball lightning, but he's eating a lot of damage. There goes the Thunder God's Wrath, and it takes him down, as that is combined with the combined damage of that Ignite. It's looking problematic right now. They're falling apart all over the map. And if you look at the kill score right now, it's like at 21 for 12. Not that big of a deal until you actually look at the goal graph. Oh, looks like they're looking to go in on Skynet. There goes the Earthquake. There goes a Ravage. What about the songs, sirs? If the songs come out, you got a big problem. And there goes the Song of the Siren. They've committed a Ravage. They've committed a lot to this kill, and they're not going to get it. And that is what goes. And now Skynet actually has his Radiance, so that's another big problem. I think they need to be very wary of how they use their spells when they're going up against Skynet. And it looks like Riz may be in a world of trouble. The pings are coming out, and they're looking to go in aggressively on him. And it looks like over the mid lane, RSC going toe to toe with Falcon. But Falcon at this point, he's not that strong. I mean, he has a Stanjan Yash. At this point, it's more about building a solid life stealer, I guess. But at this point, he's not as strong. He's not as strong in terms of what he can do. Going up against the Naga Siren, going up against the Gyrocopter. Over in the mid lane, RSC in a world of trouble. There goes the Vortex. Open wounds over onto him. The Remnant takes him down. And 209 getting another good kill going his way. So 209 not having the best game, but not having the worst game. Thunder God's Wrath going on. Looks like they're looking to go in aggressively as they take down the tower. Over on the bottom lane, they did get LGK's Lion. And looks like the ball lightning going out. There goes your Nike's bomb, a successive one, taking down Chidoi. Crossing field next on the list. as he gets taken down by that 209 Storm Spirit. 209 getting back into the swing of things, and that is my worry for the Newb lineup. They need to be very careful because the amount of aggression that can come out in terms of pickoffs for the Volvo Pls fix is actually pretty strong. So if Newb wants to make sure that they don't give up too much leeway for Volvo Pls fix, they need to take down the towers. They need to make sure that they keep farming on the cores that need farm, because Gyrocopter right now, he doesn't necessarily have that much damage going his way. The only reason that he's this strong right now is because of how much he got in the early game. But if he keeps on dying like this, he won't be getting his key damage items. And right now, Storm Spirit's sitting there with an Orchid Malevolence, and it looks like he's going to be building into a BKB very soon. And that's going to be a problem for the Newb lineup. I think that's going to be a very big problem, because potentially you could have Skynet not having the chance to use his actual Song of the Siren. That's gonna be pretty big. I reckon that's gonna be pretty big, and I don't think that's something that Newb wants to deal with. And on the flip side, what I will say is Naga Siren is farming up a storm. So in that regard, they do have someone who's farming up a storm, who's going to be wreaking havoc around the map, in the sense that she's going to be owning each lane, each successive lane. She's going to be pretty much owning it, in the sense that they're always going to be pushed out. They're always going to be pushed out. I mean, the Radiance is online. Looks like she's got her BTs, and now the obnoxious split push coming out from that Naga Siren is going to begin. And I think that's the one thing that Newb has going for them, in the sense that they can't really lose unless all Pls fix work on dispelling that looks like aggressive action coming out. But it looks like Riz able to get away from that without actually dying. He survived that after having the Ignite and the Fire Blast going on onto him, so he should be fine for the moment. And 209, I think, is going to be 209. A lot of his team's hopes rest on him, and it looks like they've got a smoke rotation right now. And this is what they need to keep doing. Keep the foot on the gas if they want Newb to suffer for the mistakes they're making, in the sense that they keep committing this Gyrocopter into things that shouldn't be. Looks like a long range ball lightning Nike's bomb going out, and that's a very quick kill onto 225. Not the kill that they wanted, but they'll be happy that they got a kill and a bounty rune going the way of 209. Now another I think the big problem that Volvo Pls fix need to rectify is they don't have any territory to speak of right now, and Naga Siren and Gyrocopter are being a nuisance around the map in terms of what the amount of push that they're dealing out. And I think that's going to be a big problem, because the amount of push that Volvo Pls fix is pretty much non-existent. I mean, you look at the Life Seeder, the Tide Hunter, the Storm Spirit, the Disruptor. These are heroes that are meant to fight and have pickoffs, essentially. But their pushing potential is pretty weak. Now, Noob's lineup has a decent fight, but what they do very well. And this is also the back of one hero, that Naga Siren. They push pretty well, and I think Volvo Pls fix, if they keep losing towers, they're not gonna get to the point. I mean, even if they win team fights, even if they get back into the swing of things with the gold rock, they're gonna have a tough job trying to push out their lanes, because that Naga Siren is being rather obnoxious with her push, and I think it's certainly something they need to be very, very wary about. And you look at the farm right now, the net worth actually head of the pack, sitting at 13.7. Is that Naga Siren over in the mid lane? It looks like they're looking to go in on Chidowi. There goes a call down, a static storm, but he is in BKB form, pretty much waxing off that new BKB, and looks like he hits the kill over onto the Disruptor. He was just killed, and looks like RSC getting it very aggressive. There goes a Ravage going on, catching on a few. There goes the Finger of Death going on as well, and RSC in a world of trouble, falling a lot with damage. There goes the Chakram as well. They do take down the line, they do take down the Disruptor, and it looks like they'll be... Whoa, Falcon in no man's land right now. There goes the Fire Blast, and it's a multi-cast, followed up by the Lightning Bolt coming out from 225. It's powered. That Ogre Magi is putting in so much work right now. That Ogre Magi is a nuisance, sitting at 737 over on his kill score. That is not a place you want the Ogre Magi to be in. Not at all. And he's almost got his accept, and that's going to be a big problem, because if you look at the item progression coming out from both teams, Chidobe sitting there with his Yules BKB. So now he's in proper fighting shape in terms of how the mid game is shaping out. ROC looks like he's gonna be getting 2 chakrams, baby. He's gonna be getting that Ag Scepter very soon, and that's gonna be another big problem in terms of how the team fights are gonna be going, because 2 chakrams out, it's going to be painful for Iconic. It's going to be painful for LGK on those on the Disruptor and the Lion respectively. 225 sitting there with his 4 staff, and it should be interesting to see what he builds next. But Skynet pretty much has his key build up and running. He has that Radiance, he has his TP boots, and soon enough he'll be going for that Manta, and that's going to be a big problem for VP,
Radiant's
because I don't think they
bottom
can
tower is
really
under attack.
I don't think VP Fix can really push back into the back of a successful team fight. I mean, arguably speaking, they still have a very decent team fight. I mean, they have the Ravage, they have the amount of control from the line, they have a Static Storm, which is great at disabling a lot of what's coming out from the new lineup, and they have the Lifestealer bombs. So the pick-off potential, the team fight potential, it's still there. But the big problem is they can't really push off of the back of anything, and that's going to be a big problem. Looks like we're going to use it. They're going on to Falcon, so Falcon's going to be in a world of trouble. There goes the Thunder God's Wrath in the BKB form. Chidobe going toe-to-toe, the cooldown falling as well. Chidobe falling quite low, so Falcon dealing a lot of damage, going toe-to-toe, and looks like that Ball Lightning Storm Spirit 209 getting the kill over onto Chidobe, and looks like who's next on the list. Open Wounds going on to 225, and that's going to be a world of trouble right now. But Falcon falling low in rage form, but as soon as that falls down, he'll be in a world of trouble. The Whirling Death goes out. There goes a Ravage. Ravage catching both RSC and Skynet. Can they do anything off of the back of it? It looks like Falcon looks to TP out, but the Chakram catches him on the back lines of the team fight. And they'll be looking to die for Rix. Can they get the kill over onto Rix? I highly doubt it, because now they're pushing into high ground territory. And looks like we've got a Gush going out. There goes the Kinetic Field. There goes the Static Storm and the Finger of Death as well, taking down that Skynet Naga Siren. But the Disruptor does fall in the back lines, and a long range Timber Chain coming out from ROC. But he does get hexed in the back lines, and LGK falling very low. There goes the Chakram. You've got the Vortex coming out from taking Crossing Field. S-Power. That S-Power takes a spill to that Storm Spirit. So going toe-to-toe, VP and Newb going very, very toe-to-toe, and I think Newb needs to be very wary about how they go on with their aggression, because as I mentioned, they are in fighting shape, but the Gyrocopter is still a squishy customer. He doesn't have his key damage items. So once that Rocket Barrage burst is down, and the bigger problem for them is they don't have a hero who can make sure that you can make quick usage of that flak cannon. So they need to be very wary about this. But a pretty even team fight coming out from both teams. But once again, what I do have to constantly stress in team fight situation, looks like 209 in a world of trouble. The amount of burst coming out from ROC. He has his 2 chakrams, so 209 needs to be very careful about how he falls following into engagements versus that ROC Timbersaw. It's scary territory, man. The big problem is, even if they take the team fights, as you can see, they could go toe-to-toe with Newb in a team fight any given day right now with the amount of team fight they're going. And 27 for 20, not the worst score that Volvo Pls could be having, considering how dismal the early game was going for them. But the bigger problem is, can they translate team fight wins into pushes up against the globally present Naga Siren? I mean, she's got her Manta right now, so she's got a proper armada of illusions, and that is something they need to worry about. And the question is, how do they deal with that? I think constant pickoffs on the Naga Siren could be certainly an avenue that they decide to go into. And Chidobe once again getting overzealous. He gets hit by that Nike's bomb as the Vortex Storm Spirit takes him down once again. 209. Trying to bring back the hopes of his team, trying to make sure this game 1 doesn't go to waste. And Newb needs to be very careful, because as I keep mentioning, Chidobe's Gyrocopter doesn't have his damage items, doesn't have that much survivability, and that's a big problem. It looks like they're going to be taking down the tier 1 unless there's any reprisal. Glyph is at the ready, but looks like Falcon and 209 will be going in aggressively. And the other big thing is, Falcon has a lot of fighting items. He has his Sentinel, he has his Basher at the ready. So it's not like he's not in fighting shape, man. That's a pretty strong life stealer, considering how badly the trialing went. If I look at the levels right now, the levels are pretty good for VP Fix. They're sitting at, their 3 cores are sitting at level 17. Top 3 of the of the levels chart. If I look at the net worth chart right now, it's favoring Newb, and this is purely down to the fact that they have the gyrocopter who's been farming up a storm, and on top of the gyrocopter who's been farming up a storm, they have the Naga Siren who's pretty much farming the entire map. So in that regard, it's pretty understandable why the gold graph is swinging their way. But you look at the XP graph, the XP graph is actually inching back in the way of VP, still sitting at 2.5 in favor of Newb, but not the worst chain of events going the way of VP Fix. I think at this point both teams must be wondering, both teams must be thinking about Roshan at some point, because if you look at the ward coverage coming out from VP Fix, they have an observer around the Roche pit, and that should pretty much scout out any attempts coming out from the Newb side. And then on the flip side, this ward does kind of give coverage of the general Roche area, so they'll be fine with that. I think both teams should be thinking about it at some point, and the question is Gyrocopter going to go directly for a farming build? It actually looks like he's not going to be going for that helm of the Dominator. So Chidowi definitely looks like he's not looking to farm, but he's got a Demon Age right now, so it looks like he'll be going for that MKB, and I have to wonder to what end he's going for the MKB, because right now I don't really see much of these heroes looking to go in for that for an item like a butterfly at this point. Looks like over the mid lane, the Static Storm taking down ROC's Timber, so he actually commits suicide once again. But the bigger problem is his Bloodstone charges are losing a lot of efficacy, sitting at 3 Bloodstone charges. I think they're tilting right now. They need to be very careful about how aggressive they're getting, because they're overestimating the fighting potential that they do have, especially going up against a lineup that has this much fighting potential. I think they need to be very careful. They need to be very, very careful. A long-range ball lightning and 225 in a world of trouble. Can they get more? Everyone TP's out, so 225 is going to be the only hero they get. But I think what they'll be happy about is that they're getting kills around the map, and it's working for the better in terms of getting items for their core heroes. Because you look at the top 3 right now, it's no longer just a Newb show. It's actually VP back in the fold. VP is back in the fold in the sense that in terms of the top 3 farmers, 2 of them are actually in the top 3. The Lifesteal is sitting at 14k, the Storm Spirit is sitting at 13k, and they're only being headed up by the Naga Siren sitting at 18k as well. So Newb needs to be very careful, because if the game goes on the way that it's been going on for the past 10 minutes, I would assume Newb would probably get into a position where they could possibly get into a position where they actually constantly have to rely on Skynet's split push as opposed to having a strong team fight presence, and that is scary territory, because the only split pusher they have is the Naga Siren. It's the Naga Siren, and as it stands, she's pretty strong. She's pretty farmed as well, but if her push falls over, as a lot is resting on her shoulders, if her push falls over, now she has a diffusal blade. So once again, those illusions are going to be a nightmare to deal with coming out from the VP side. But if that Naga Siren doesn't pull up her end in terms of her push, then I think Newb needs to be very wary, because the Timber Saw is losing his efficacy. I mean, he does have his Ag Scepter, so in terms of his team fight potential, he is great, but his Bloodstone charges are a problem right now. Sitting at 3 Bloodstone charges, he's had to commit to suicide maybe once or twice. Actually, it's about 2 or 3 times at this point, and I think it's a problem right now. It's proving to be a problem, and Chidowi once again, he's a bit of a problem as well. But he's going to be going for that MKB. Once he gets that MKB, he should be great in terms of damage potential. But what I worry about is his survivability, because it isn't there. And 225 is going to get to the point where his amount of damage, his amount of burst damage, it looks like over on the top lane actually they take down that Lion, but the reprisal coming out onto Skynet. There goes a Static Storm, and Skynet being in a world of trouble right now. Also the Ravage coming out, catching onto 2. RSC in a world of trouble. They do catch crossing field, and it's a 2 for 2, even committing that buyback over onto Skynet. Can they get anything further? The Timbersaw looking to go in aggressively on that 209 Storm Spirit, and the Chakram dealing a lot of damage. He should actually take out. That's going to be a double kill going the way of RC, and it's double buybacks. It looks like over in the bottom lane, Skynet doing a lot to the territory. It looks like Chidori has the BKB TP out, and VP Fix having to deal with the obnoxious push coming out from Skynet. So Smoke and Mirrors the team fight at the top lane because they lost the range racks coming out, and that's a big problem. That's a big problem because this lane, it essentially means this lane is going to be constantly pushed up, and if that lane is constantly pushed up, then what can they really do to quell the push coming out from Newb? I think that's certainly one of the bigger things that they need to be wary about. At this point, there's no question about it. They're up against the ropes. I mean, they have a great team fighting lineup, and the amount of aggression that they've shown and the amount of tenacity they've shown in the team fights right now, it shows that they still have a decent team fighting lineup, barring the team gold graph right now as it sits at 14k in favor of Newb. But this is purely down to the amount of towers that have been taken, and it's purely down to the amount of farm amassed by that Naga Siren. It's purely down to the amount of farm amassed by that Naga Siren as well. But the big thing for them is they don't push that well, and that's going to be the bigger problem. I think at some point they're going to have to, I don't know, they're going to have to get a Gambit card. They're going to have to get a wild card play. I'm not entirely sure what wild card play they could go for, because at this point, teamfight is all they have. Whilst teamfight is something Newb has on top of having a push. And Shinobi right now, he doesn't even care about giving up his life for the cause, because as it stands like now, he's actually Smoke and Mirrors. So they can kill him all they like, which I was actually initially worried about. But the bigger problem is they're not dealing with the Naga Siren. The Naga Siren is a big problem. I think they need to keep getting these pickoffs, make sure that the Naga Siren isn't too much of a factor. But it may be a little too late for that, because she's almost going into hard territory right now. She's almost in hard territory. She already has that fit booster as well. And at this point, she's hard to deal with. She's very, very hard to deal with. And now they're going to be going high ground. And that's going to be a lane of racks secured, ladies and gentlemen. Unless they decide they're going to go in, and that homing missile does catch him on the backlines, are they going to do anything further? It actually looks like we got double chakram going on. I don't know, man. It's looking pretty scary. There goes the Hex. There goes the Ball Lightning. Can they get a Vortex? We actually have a reprisal cooldown going on. But the PKBs are going on, and Chidoi's about to take a spill. There goes the Song of the Siren, but Falcon was in rage form. He got out a little bit of damage initially. There goes the multi-cast Fire Blast. There goes a Ravage. Ravage catching on the 4. And looks like Falcon's in a world of trouble. And there goes a brilliant static storm. 225 in a world of trouble, eats a finger of death as well, and looks like they're about to catch him in snare catching Falcon as well. There goes the clip. So 225 definitely going to take a split. It's 3 for 1 right now in favor of VP, and Falcon going toe to toe with Skynet. Skynet having to back off right now. It's going to be 4 for 1. Oh no, Skynet actually edges out Falcon, and it's a 3 for 2 engagement going in favor of VP actually. And look at the goal change right now. VP bringing in back the numbers. I mean, you look at the XP change, they got a 5.8 XP swing their way. They got some decent gold going their way. So I think Newb once again overestimating their lineup in terms of its team fight potential, or overestimating the amount of push they have going high ground at this point. If VP decides they want to actually defend, I think the bigger worry for them is, or at least what I'm seeing happen there, they didn't have the insurance of an Aegis, and I think they really need to think about going for Aegis if they want to keep going high ground as a collective unit, because if they don't go high ground, then they're going to find themselves in a position where they're dealing up with Ravage, they're dealing up with Static Storm, and mind you, this Static Storm, I haven't really spoken about Iconic's Static Storm. Iconic has been playing an amazing, he's been playing an amazing Disruptor all game, and now he has an Ag Scepter. So if you get caught up in that Static Storm, you know you're not getting your BKB off, you're not getting any items off as well. So it's an AoE doom in the sense that this team, whoever gets caught in that static storm, they can't do anything. And that is a big problem. That's a big problem for the Newb lineup. But nonetheless, look at the item. We're looking at the item progression coming out from both teams. VP kind of good. They're back in the swing of things. I mean, there's a pipe. There isn't a blink dagger coming out for Riz, so I think that's going to be his next key item. But his ravages is having pretty much on point. Look at 209. 209. It may be looking like he's going into. It might look like he's going into Bloodstone territory, and there he gets his Bloodstone, and that's going to be another problem for the Newb lineup. Because the thing is, 209 is causing havoc in terms of his overall presence in the team fights, and I think that's a big problem for Newb. And another big problem is you look at Vulcan. Vulcan has his AC, he has his Basher as well, and that's another big problem because he's hard to take down. He's not as easy to take down. I mean, you look at the amount of health he has. 2.1. That's a size.
Dyer's bottom
that's a
barracks
sizable.
are under attack.
That's a sizable amount of HP for a lifestealer, and he's like I said, he's amassing a decent amount of farm, and that's certainly something that I think Newb are not kind of cognizant of. Once again, they're looking to go high ground without having secured an Aegis, which I think is a little bit of a mistake unless they can play smoke and mirror games. They can play smoke and mirror games. We've got the call down going on, but he did call out his Earth Spike. It looks like Riz is about to go in. There goes the Static Storm. Static Storm catching 2, and there goes a Ravage. Ravage catching Chiru and Skynet. Skynet about to fall down, and it's a decent exchange going the way of VP, and looks like RSC has the BKB out. Looks like he's going to get a kill onto Iconic, but instead they're going to actually keep him in tow. Can he get out? He does get the Timber Chain down. Looks like he's probably going to commit suicide, but once again it's 2 for 4 going in favor of VP Fix, and this is exactly what I keep saying. The amount of teamfight potential coming out from VP Fix not being respected by the Newb lineup. And I mean, as it stands right now, they're playing smoke and mirror games in the sense that they are, each time they push high ground, they're kind of getting one objective or the other. I mean, you look right now, the tier 3 did fall, but it's still not a lane of Rex, and you don't want to be giving that Lifestealer too much, because Lifestealer at some point he's going to be thinking maybe this is the game that I should start split pushing. And that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be a big problem, because if that happens, and now you look at them capitalizing over on their teamfight wins, and that cannot be happening because Newb right now, the one trick pony they have is the Naga Siren. As strong as she is, she still can't survive the onslaught coming out from that Static Storm once it catches her. That Ravage, that follow-up Ravage as well. I think it's looking dicey for Newb right now, because they're not making great usage of the initial advantage they had. I mean, you look at the gold graph right now. The gold graph is still sitting at 15k, so it's still in favor of them, and it's like I said, it's down to tower gold right now. And once those towers start falling in favor of VP Fix, I think Newb needs to really look at their team fight strategy. I mean, we're 45 minutes in, and the amount of team fight potential coming out from VP Fix scales. It's still scaling, and the team fight coming out from Newb right now, it's not scaling. I think in terms of what they're doing, the Zeus is getting to a point where he's kind of petering out in terms of his potential, but it looks like we might have an engagement over on the top lane as VP Fix are looking to go in aggressively and take down another tier 1, some of the Siren, and they're in very close proximity, so they need to be very wary. But if Rex can get a follow up onto that, it looks like they're gonna have the Ravage available in about 5 seconds. There goes the Static Storm as well. We've got the Thunder God's Wrath. There goes the Earth Spike catching RSC. RSC's in a world of trouble. He takes a spell first, and it looks like they're about to get his powered as well. But on the backlines, the Lion LGK does fall as well. And Falcon in a world of trouble in the middle of an Armada coming out from Newb, and the buyback coming out from that Timber Saw as well. So it's 2 for 1, but a buyback did come out from the Newb lineup, and they'll probably be looking to go high ground. 45 minutes in, do they have buybacks? I think that's a key question right now. Only the Storm Spirit and the Lifestealer have buyback, and I think that should be enough. And Lifestealer being forced to buy back because, as it stands right now, the only one they don't have to defend is the actual Lion. But the question remains: is 4 heroes enough for a valiant effort in terms of trying to quell the push? And looks like they're about to go in. Yule Scepter onto Valken. Valken in a world of trouble eats the Thunderbolt, and ROC timber chaining all over the place, and they do have the pipe up over onto Riz. But it looks like it was just a solitary pipe usage, so I think they should be very wary about that. They lose the range racks, and that is exactly what Newb came here to do. They got the prize, they pushed, they forced out a buyback, and that's what they need to be doing. They need to take the team fights they can and capitalize on them, but make sure that they don't allow VP the perfect team fight when they push high ground. And that's exactly what they did in that instance right there. They got a pick off, they went high ground knowing it's a 4v5 situation, and that is the kind of situation that VP Fix don't want when they try to push, when they try to defend their high ground. But Riz right now, sitting with a mech, pipe, and a refresher, opting to go for the refresher instead of having a blink dagger on his Tidehunter. I think it should be interesting to see, because I think the bigger problem for Riz right now is, or rather what he's not realizing is that the team fights that they've been taking have been as a result of Newb getting over aggressive, and not a matter of the initiation that VP Fix has had. So they've been playing reactionary Dota, which has been playing out pretty well for their lineup, in the sense that Riz can get off amazing ravages, in the sense that he doesn't have to blink in because they're not the ones initiating. But if they do want to kind of bring the game back in, I think they're going to need a more proactive stance in how they're taking the game, and I think a blink dagger would have been great on Riz, but nonetheless he does have 2 ravages, so his initiation potential is still pretty strong, and I think it will be seen how they actually translate this double ravage into more team fight wins. And I think it's pretty strong, considering there's an Ags Static Storm. It looks like they're about to go in aggressively. We got a 3-man smoke, and looks like they're looking to go in onto Skynet, but Skynet, the rat, smelling a rat. So he's sending out his illusions first, making sure nothing happens, and Vulcan knows these are illusions. But Vulcan infesting a creep, so they know he's infested right now. The question is the smoke and daggers enough? And this is exactly the kind of thing they always need to be worried about, especially since they've lost a lane. They've lost range racks both on top and bottom, so those lanes are going to be constantly pushed down. I think, and I think the bigger problem for VP Fix is like they can't really spread themselves too thin. Abyssal Blade coming off of the Lifestealer, so a lot more disable, and I mean they have a flurry of disables coming off of VP Fix, which is certainly going in their favor. But Roshan about to go down over on the Newb side lineup, but scouted out by 209, and I think that's enough to make sure that Newb don't go in aggressively on that, especially considering that their gyrocopter is pretty low on health. It looks like he's going to be going for a butterfly, and at this point he's actually at a scary point, but I still worry about his survivability, and I guess the butterfly will help. It actually will help in the sense that he will be dodging a few of the right click damage coming out from VP Fix, so it's certainly something that is going the way of the gyrocopter. I think the gyrocopter right now, as much of a carry as he is, he's being smoke and mirrors in this game, because he's died quite a decent amount of times, sitting at 478, and particularly speaking, that's not the best gyrocopter performance. But what they are doing is using it to make sure they give Skynet the space to pretty much be a nuisance around the map. I mean, look at the lanes. The lanes are constantly pushed out, and VP Fix, on top of having to worry about high ground pushes coming out from a collective unit of 5 heroes coming out from Newb, they have to worry about these side lanes always being pushed out, because they don't have split pushes. I mean, the Lifestealer could try split pushing, but he's not as efficient as one might expect. and looks like we're gonna get a pause coming out. The Infest bomb
Roshan
coming
has
out.
fallen
The
to
Infest
the
going
Radiant.
out as soon as the Wrath, the Thunder God's Wrath went out, and they actually got the Aegis as well. So, with the amount of intense action that's been going around in the game right now, we get a bit of a breather. We have a look at the way the game's going right now, and Newb are in a commanding position. There's no question about it. I mean, you look at the net worth chart right now, and 28,000 over on that Skynet Naga Siren. That's is not by any means a little amount of gold. That is insane. And the next in line on that net worth chart is actually sitting on 19k, the Lifestealer. The Lifestealer and actually the Storm Spirit. So it's not like they're bowing out without a fight. They're putting up a very decent fight. I mean, if the scores are anything to go by, they're putting up a decent fight, sitting at 36 for 33 in favor of Newb. And when you consider how crazy the early game was in favor of Newb, I think that's a very valiant effort to try and stay in the game. But nonetheless, the fact of the matter remains, Newb are in a commanding position right now, and now they have the Aegis as an insurance policy to push high ground. I think the next team fight is going to the next high ground push is actually pretty much going to decide the fate of this game, because if they go high ground, they don't even need to go as a collective unit of 5. They can have Skynet on one lane and the rest of the heroes coming out from Newb on one lane, and at that point I think the game should be over. They're pretty much going to close out the game, because at this point team fight wins are irrelevant for VP. Teamfight wins are irrelevant for VP's fixed lineup. I'm not entirely sure how they plan to quell the next high ground push coming out from me, but we'll see if they can do it. Right now they're looking to go high ground, prepping up a few illusions. Is that Naga Siren over on Skynet? So I don't know, man. It's looking pretty scaly for VP Fix right now. They have the team fight,
Dire's
and
top
they prove it
barracks
time
are
and
under
time again,
attack.
getting back into the swing of it. I mean, at some point we had a kill discrepancy of maybe 12 to 14 kills, and they pretty much brought it back. But the fact of the matter is, if you allow Naga Siren to get this ahead in the game, and now she's almost got her BKB, and that's a big problem. I mean, her butterfly, excuse me. I think
Dire's
that's a big
bottom
problem.
barracks are under
That's
attack.
a big problem. You allow Skynet's Naga Siren to get out of control, and your territory has gone to shit, and that's exactly what's happened. I mean, they have no territory to speak of. They've lost range bot, they've lost range top, and they're about to lose the melee racks. And looks like 209 having to commit a lot of his skills over onto the illusions. Those illusions are a tough cookie to crack, man. They're a tough cookie to crack. And 209 trying admirably, but the chip damage is going onto the melee racks, and I think they'll be
Dire's
happy
top
that they
barracks
didn't
are under
use
attack.
the melee racks initially, because they have at least a regen to count on. But at this point, it's looking pretty grim, man. It's looking pretty grim. 15k still in favor of Newb on the goal graph, and the XP graph is actually in favor of, well, Volvo Pls fix. So their team fights have been outstanding in the game, but the team fights right now are not going to do anything for them. So who do they defend against? Do they defend against the top lane in ROC and Skynet, or do they defend against the bottom lane, Chidowi and S Powered? It's a problem right now. They can't really do anything. And it looks like LGK been caught up by that homing missile. Looks like we've got an engagement over the bottom lane. There goes a call down. He's looking to take down the tower. Chidowi taking a spill. He's about to take down the spill. He defensively puts out that
Dire's
he'll
middle
set the, but
tower
there goes the
under
Ravage. The
attack.
Ravage catching on to 2. ROC in a world of trouble. There goes the Static Storm. And looks like S-Powered about to be in a world of trouble. He takes a spill as well. So now it's 2 kills going in favor of Volvo Pls, and they're about to get a third in that Chidowi. Oh man. Volvo Pls putting up a valiant defense, and now they can't really do anything for the Skynet push. So the Skynet push right now really doesn't get anything. The racks almost took a spill, but it's melee racks, ladies and gentlemen, and they'll still be up. And you look at the bottom racks as well. they may have lost a decent amount of health, but they'll be up in great shape in no time unless they decide we're going in again. And I think this is a symptom of Newb trying to play. I think at this point, in terms of going high ground, a 4v5 unit split, a 4-1v5 unit split is not going to quell much of the team fight coming out from Volvo Pls. So I think they'll need to go as a collective unit, because at this point the amount of burst damage that's coming out from Volvo Pls is insane. And I'm not even talking just the control. The amount of control that Volvo Pls is certainly insane. I mean, they have the double ravage, they have the Axe Scepter static storm, so they need to be very wary of that. And then on top of that, the vortex coming out from the storm spirit and his bloodstone charge is sitting at 16, so his regen is insane as well. I think at this point Newb needs to go as a collective unit of 5 and try to push one collective lane of racks, get them down, and looks like they're about to get melee racks. They do have a full lane of racks now, ladies and gentlemen. Top racks is down, the melee racks are down. So now they have a full lane of racks and half racks for the mid lane, for the bottom lane as well. So it's gonna be an interesting challenge for Volvo Pls. Right now they're putting up a valiant effort. They're pretty much bleeding slowly right now. They're dying by 1,000 cuts in terms
Dyer's
of
bottom
what
barracks
Newb
are
have.
under attack.
They do have the team fight, but it's a matter of can they do anything with the amount of team fight wins they're getting. I mean, right now they have a very good team fight for that high ground defense, but right now it's looking pretty dicey, and looks like over the mid lane we may have a defensive on the go, and looks like there goes the call down. The call down getting a lot of damage onto Riz. Riz about to take the spot. He goes out the Ravage. The Ravage catching no one, as Shinui was in the Yule Scepter mode. So Riz doesn't get a chance to get off a second Ravage. He might have to buy back. 209 taking a lot of damage, but they do get Shinui on the back end. And looks like S-Powered about to be next. There goes the Vortex. He has the commitment of that Orchid Malevolence, and it looks like GG, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 5-man wipe going in favor of Newb, and they have to call GG because they're going for the tier 4s. They do have mega creeps, and right now there's no way Volvo Pls were going to get anything in terms of what this game has. I don't have much to say about this game. This game was a clash of titans, sitting at 57 minutes. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call an amazing game. Well played from both teams. I think if I had to say anything about how this game went down, both teams were pretty even in terms of team fights, and Volvo Pls actually they actually going into the mid stages of the game, going into the later stages of the game, they executed much better than what I anticipated as a result of the early game pressure they were put under from the Newb lineup. But nonetheless, Newb pretty much overran the laning phase. They pretty much dominated that laning phase, and when you have a Gyrocopter, a Timber Sword, Naga Siren, that's kind of what you want. If you dominate the early game, it essentially means Naga Siren has free space to farm, and they couldn't control Skynet's Naga Siren. But going into the mid lane, Newb almost pretty much handed the turnaround to Volvo Pls in the sense that they got a lot of aggression over onto VP Fix, and you can't just get that amount of aggression considering the ravages, considering the disruption, the disruptors array of skills. But nonetheless, well played to both teams. They'll be going into game 2. I'm your host Saint D. Please join me as we go into game 2 of this Orena playoff stage in the Lifechild Invitational. Stay tuned for game 2, folks.